Welcome back to the Black Lion Blueprint. In this episode, I'm going to explain why I rarely recommend body part splits and what to do instead. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying body part splits are bad, and they can be good, especially if your goal is bodybuilding. But if you're an active adult and your goal is to get stronger, you want to perform better in whatever activity or sport you're participating in, and you just want to stay active without spending so much of your life in the gym, then I believe there is a better approach. So, without further ado, we're going to get into the main three reasons why I believe body part splits or full body splits are the better approach. Let's get right into it. So, the first thing is the body part splits require way more time. So, they require more time from you. Basically, you'll be working out 5, 6 to even sometimes 7 days a week trying to get all of your body parts worked. And if you have a lot of things going on in your life, you got your career, you got your family, you got your other hobbies, you got your other sports activities, or if you're a semi-pro or pro athlete and you got things going on in your sport and sport participation practice, it's not going to allow you the time to actually fit those other things in, or it's just going to interfere with those other things. And if the majority of if your priority is actually the gym, then of course, yeah, cool. All right, it makes sense. You can spend that time working that body part. But if that's not your priority and you got all those other things going on, it's not going to be the best thing for you. But on the other hand, full body training 2 to 3 days a week, you can still get really good results. I've seen it in a multitude of my clients because the majority of my clients actually train full body 2 to 3 days per week. And there are a few people that we do 5 days per week of strength training with, and they get really good results from that. So with that being said, it makes it to where now you can fit all those other things in, which leads me to my next point is that body part splits are less flexible. So if you're training a different body part every day of the week, then let's just say you get sick. There goes 2, 3 days of your training. Let's say you have a kid and they get sick, or they have an event, or you have a family event that pops up, or you stay later at work, sports practice runs over, or you decide you want to double up on the training of your sport or hobby that day. You don't have the flexibility to do that. They are way less flexible. So once you miss that one day, now your whole entire training schedule is off. Again, compared to body part splits, if you miss one day, it's not going to be the end of the world. The reason why is because you'll be training, let's just say, a pressing movement, so like a bench press or a dumbbell bench press or overhead press, at least 3 days during the week. And if you only miss one day, you still hit that same area compared to if you miss your chest and triceps day, then now you did not train that specific area and you have to maybe try and double up now. That's going to make your training session go over. If you have to try and double up, you're going to be even more sore. You're not going to have the same amount of effort that you can put into it, so on and so forth. It's obviously so many downsides that I can say to reason why it's just not as flexible as the full body training split. All right, so getting into the third point. So full body training better supports an active lifestyle because it spreads the volume out over the week, right? So again, the example of training the chest and triceps on that one day, you are trying to train that body part so hard to where you need that whole entire week to recover and then come back and train it again. Now, think about you're trying to go and participate in jiu-jitsu or kickboxing. Your punches are probably not going to be as sharp as they should be. They may be a little bit painful or uncomfortable when you're trying to punch, especially now you got triceps that are sore and then also your chest muscles are sore. Let's just say jiu-jitsu, for instance. If you're grappling, like that taxes the body a lot. So if your muscles are sore, whatever you're participating in, whatever is a sport, your hobby or whatnot, it's not going to allow you to perform that thing to the level that you may want to perform it. And it could just lend you to some type of overuse injury. And I'm not trying to fearmonger here, but typically overuse injuries happen when you exceed the capacity of that specific area of your body. And if you are participating in other things outside of just training in the gym, then you just make yourself more susceptible to it when you put so much volume in one day and then you go and participate in your hobby or your sport that same day or even the next day because you're so sore and banged up. But now, again, compared to the full body training, you are spreading that out over the week. So, in each of those sessions, since you are going to be pressing again during the week, you're not trying to completely obliterate that body part. You are just trying to give it a good enough training stimulus that day to get the best training effect for that day, to have enough time to rest in between for one day and then come back and do it again the following day. So if you train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have a day of rest in between to where during that next session, you should feel fully recovered and refreshed to hit that same movement pattern, that pressing pattern for that day. So again, soreness and fatigue builds up a lot faster when you completely tax that area, plus you're trying to do other things. And it just makes that more painful. And typically, most people will not keep up with the training program like that because of the lack of flexibility. If you're trying to be consistent as possible, think about a whole entire year. How often throughout the year would you be able to go to the gym 6 days a week? Especially, again, you have family events that pop up. You have different friend maybe obligations. Your friends want to get together here and there. Or again, somebody gets sick, you get sick yourself, work gets crazy busy. You have more flexibility with the full body training split, as well as when you're doing full body, you don't really tax the body as much as you would when it comes to your training. And I've seen this, just kind of give an example of the fighters that I've worked with over the years, that most of the time they were doing, some of them would not do strength training at all, but the ones that were doing strength training some of them were doing like body part splits, and they couldn't figure out like why they couldn't perform as well as they felt like they should have. But then, I would always try and tell them that there's a better way, but it was better to show them. And when they adopted the full body training split, they were like, oh my gosh, I have way more energy. I feel better while I'm performing, my grappling sessions or my striking sessions. Just in training in general, they just felt better and less beat up. Of course, because you're not trying to destroy that body part and you're training for more so, again, strength and performance. So with the volume being spread out so much, you don't get that high buildup of accumulated fatigue. And I've seen this not only in those athletes that I've trained, the fighters that I've trained, but also just in some runners as well, recreational runners, because so much of the run volume, if you're training, like you do your leg day, and let's just say you do your leg day on a Saturday and your long run is on a Sunday, that long run might not go that well. So you just have to think about that when it comes to what are you actually trying to accomplish. And if you're just trying to stay active and you're just doing that strength training in order to just support all the other things that you're doing, full body training is the best way to go. Especially, again, if the goal isn't bodybuilding and you don't have all the time in the world to spend in the gym, full body training is hands down what you should be doing. So what I recommend, I've already said it, full body training, but how do you do it? How do I do it? Is simple. So it's built around these movement patterns. So it's a squat, a lunge, a bend, a push, a pull, a core movement. And sometimes we do a power, and maybe we might add some conditioning in it, but it depends. So what that would look like would be day one. Let's just say our priority is the squat movement. We pair all the exercises so that way we can have an efficient training session. So A1 will be a squat. A2 would be some type of pulling motion. That's what I like to kind of pair the movements together. And then B1 could be a bending motion. B2 can be a pressing motion. Let's just say dumbbell bench press. And then for C1 could be some type of isolated core work. So we can do weighted plank holds. And then the C3 could be some type of lunge movement. So maybe a split squat or a reverse lunge or something like that, right? So we do all of those things within the training session, and now we've hit all the major muscle groups and all the major movement patterns that we're looking at. If you're asking yourself, well, where does the conditioning come in? So if you're a recreational runner, you're already doing your conditioning. If you participate in jiu-jitsu, you're conditioning yourself for your jiu-jitsu by doing jiu-jitsu. But if you want to do other conditioning things outside of that, then instead of ending your session or doing conditioning on another day, let's just say if we're trying to make it as flexible as possible, now you have part D, which can be 15 to 20 minutes of a bike or a stationary bike or a row or maybe jogging on the treadmill, depending on how efficient you are at jogging. And we're just trying to build up some aerobic capacity there. Now, if you like the intervals are fine too. Sometimes I understand it's very hard to get yourself mentally in the mindset to do steady state conditioning. So you get on the bike and you do some intervals, sustainable intervals. And this is one of the things I implemented with one of the clients that I've had that they participated in jujitsu and they wanted to get their conditioning up and perform better. And all I did was just start to introduce a little bit of interval training on the bike because that person never really trained conditioning before. All they did was just participate in these sports and then they did strength training, but never really conditioned themselves in that way. So added some bike intervals and they felt tremendously better and had better stamina with their jujitsu participation. So bike intervals, it has to be sustainable. So an example would be 1 minute on, 1 minute off for 7 sets. And you have to keep the same pace throughout each one to let you know that it's sustainable. And then let's just say next week you do the same thing, trying to maintain the same pace, and maybe you add a few intervals onto that. So that's just a simple variation of how you can do your conditioning. You could do just a long aerobic base build for 15 to 20 minutes. Again, that would still keep your session within an hour to an hour and 15 minutes if you do it correctly. And then the other variation would be doing intervals, and then you can change it up throughout the week as well. But if you want like a complete breakdown on how to do that, I'll leave a link on the full body workout split, my blueprint for it, down in the description below. Okay. So that's what we do. We train a full body and we do it 3 days a week or 2 days a week. And we're doing all those movement patterns each and every day of the week. And we are prioritizing different things. So let's just say if you're weak in your upper body and you want to prioritize pushing, that's going to be the first exercise that you do because you're going to be the most fresh for it and you can put the most effort into it. Let's just say if you're weak in your legs and you want to improve leg strength, maybe the squat is going to be the first thing that you do. So that's how we prioritize that. But we won't go into the weeds about all of that stuff today. Okay. So body part splits, they are not bad. They're simply not necessary for most people. Like I said before, if your goal is just to get stronger, to perform better, and just to stay active in general, without, those aches and those pains showing up, then body part splits is generally what I recommend for the majority of people, especially if you have a lot of life going on outside of the gym and the gym is not your main priority. If you want help specifically applying any of this to your training, you can click the link in the description or the show notes and book a free call with me, and I'll help you figure out a game plan to help you in your specific situation. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.